You a little short for a stormtrooper?
What's up, nerds? Welcome to another episode of the Multiverse Report. We are recapping the most recent 2 episodes of Andor. Is it 8 and 9?
Sure.
I think it's 8 and 9.
Yeah.
Or 7 and 8. I think it's 8 and 9.
This is definitely 9, so yeah, 8 and 9.
Yeah, okay, so 8 and 9. From Narkina 5 to Coruscant and everywhere in between. Sorry about that very unprofessional, unrehearsed intro. But my name is Mike Gibson. With me as always, Steve Haller. What's up, Steve?
Well, this show just continues to overstep expectations because I don't get how it's as good as it is.
Hands down, greatest Star Wars show that they've ever made. Hands down. Hands completely down. Down on the ground.
You should pick them back up and clap for it.
Yeah. Yeah, and I do. I every episode ends and I stand up off my couch and I give it a standing ovation. Yes. Excellent job, everybody involved.
Congrats, folks.
Yeah, so we couldn't do one last week because I was not caught up, but boy, am I caught up this week on the 2 episodes into the Cassian being in a floating prison. That is not the Raft, not to be confused with Marvel's The Raft. This is a separate floating prison.
Right. This is another floating prison that looks exactly like the other floating prison with a couple of accoutrements added to it.
Yeah. Yeah. This one doesn't seem like it submerges.
True.
But it is underwater. It does go down. The top of it.
Yep.
The top of it is exposed, and then there's levels underneath. Maybe one less level than there was.
Yeah, there's definitely one less level of people.
Yeah,
but
less levels worth of people.
Yeah, for anyone who's watching this, there will be spoilers for episodes 8 and 9, or all of Andor up to this point, and all of Star Wars in general. If you haven't figured that out yet, you probably shouldn't be watching.
Yep. So I don't know, Steve. Where do you want to start? I mean, we're kind of covering 2 episodes, but I don't know. The most recent one is burned into my brain. So I don't know where we want to start.
Yeah, let's just dive into 9 primarily, and we'll touch back on 8 where we need to.
Yeah. Okay. Well, damn. I got to say, welcome Andy Serkis back to the Star Wars universe in full form.
Yep.
And I feel like in 8, I was like, oh yeah, there he is. I knew he was going to be in it. And here he is. And in 8, I was like, I feel like something is going to happen with his character because you don't get Andy Serkis for a role like this. You don't get a name actor for like a role like this if this all he's going to do is just say, bark orders at the prisoners or whatever. But then again, I was like, well, maybe he just wanted to be in Star Wars again, even though he already was. But I feel like that's the thing. If someone's never been in Star Wars, then they're like, yeah, I'll be a stormtrooper or something.
Yeah,
I'll take a whatever
Daniel
part.
Craig is a stormtrooper type thing.
Exactly, just so I can say that I'm in Star Wars. I'll be whatever. Yep. But he's already Snoke. He's already been in 2 Star Wars movies.
Yeah, he's already gotten cut in half with a lightsaber.
Yeah,
he's reached the pinnacle of Star Wars. That is the apex.
Yes. Yeah. Yes. And so, but then 9 really showed me why they got an actor.
With those chops,
the caliber of Andy Serkis. Because damn, that was something. Everyone, even before I watched it, because I was late on watching it, but I could not avoid Twitter. Didn't spoil anything for me, but I just kept hearing about like, man, those last 2 lines of that episode, incredible. Like, got me pumped up for the next one. I can't wait. Those last 2 lines. I was like, what are those last 2 lines going to be? And I saw that one of them was how many guards on each level. And I was like, well, that doesn't sound like a banger of a line or whatever.
Right, except it just paid off 90 minutes worth of video. You're like, oh, okay.
Yeah, because they set it up earlier in the episode when he's like, how many guards in each level? I was like, I'm not talking to you about this. Stop, forget it.
Right.
Stop thinking about this. No, how many guards on each level? Good luck. I'm going to bed, And I was like, oh, okay. So
now it makes
sense.
I
put it together like he's going to answer or he's going to say something else badass at the end. And just like, no more than 12. Like, I'm in. We're doing this.
Right.
We're figuring it out. Let's fucking get out of here.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, man. I don't know, it was great. And you knew, like, they were really, it's not that it was predictable. I guess part of it was predictable, but the fallout from what was predictable was unpredictable. I thought where they were really hammering on this old guy that's on their team. Something is going to happen with him.
Right.
He's going to die. He's going to pass out. He's going to screw something up.
As soon as they said he's only got 40 days left, you knew he was going down. Like something was going to happen.
Yeah, it's classic 80s action movie
Yep.
rules. Like, oh, 2 weeks away from retirement, you're about to die, my friend. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I was like, is he really going to die? Is he just going to get, like, injured, or is he going to cause problem?
All the above.
All the above. Yeah, you're right. You're right.
So yeah, I guess for the arc, let's break it down this way instead of flying around things. Let's break down the Narkina 5 stuff first, and then we can hit the others. Like,
Sure.
we'll go planet by planet.
Sure. Okay. Perfect. Yeah. Because I'm just jumping into stuff that I remember. Yeah. So he's in this facility, I guess, that thank you for corralling me and setting us on a path here.
Yeah.
So this facility, this submerged prison, keeps its I don't know. I think everything this show is doing is a great addition to Star Wars.
Yeah.
And it's doing new things, very new things, while making it still feel like Star Wars and making it feel like the Empire would actually do this, or like Rebels would actually do this thing. Like this prison being completely controlled by electricity or whatever current running through the floors, being turned on and off. Like, that's something we've never seen in Star Wars before, but it works. It completely works for me, and it explains how you could have a prison facility that's not incredibly just, overrun with stormtroopers.
Right, not just staffed to the gills with people trying to hold order. It's like, oh, put them down in a pit, electrocute the floor if they do things wrong. Problem solved.
Exactly. Yeah. And of course, it also works in a TV show to fit the formula of a TV show where you can have the prisoners' cells pretty close to each other and they can talk to each other easily, but they can't leave.
Right.
They're not like closed off by glass or bars or whatever that would like keep them from looking at each other or talking to each other or hearing each other or anything like that. It's like, no, there you can
do whatever you want.
Everyone's
you
breathing the same air.
We know you're not getting out.
Oh, dude, is it the end of 8 where that guy killed himself by jumping on the floor?
Yeah.
Like, oh shit, this is bleak.
Like, that's not great, Bob. Not great.
Yeah. There is, I guess I just said the word bleak, and I feel like that is that's something that's in this show that isn't in a lot of other Star Wars stuff. Because they're putting Cassian through, Star Wars is all about hope.
Right.
They talk about hope a lot, especially in Rogue One, this is prequelizing Rogue One.
Literally the last words in the movie.
Yeah. And it's the whole, like, Jyn mobilizes rebels
rebellions
to
are built
by
on
talking
hope.
about rebellions are built on hope. Exactly. So, but that line works on Cassian, but he's not a character that's built on hope at all. He's got a pretty negative outlook by the time we meet him in Rogue One, and we are wholeheartedly seeing the development of that outlook in this arc specifically.
We are, and we're also seeing the development of him as a leader of men and of like bringing people around to like rallying around his cause.
Yeah,
like you're seeing him develop into grabbing, bringing Kino in, bringing. We know Melchi goes with him because he shows up later, but bringing the rest of these guys that he's talking. The one guy he talks to after he was in the Porta-John there or whatever.
Yes, I was just going to say that guy.
We're talking Star Wars. He was in the Refresher.
The Refresher. Yeah,
that's what they refer to.
That was funny. I noticed that too. I was like, that's funny.
Yeah, that goes back to the EU actually. Like that's what they used to. That's what they
referred
really? To it in the old EU
that's
books.
A great
so it was like
then.
following a through line, and
that's great.
So yeah, they bring Cassian's character along from just this Aladdin street rat to
to reluctant mercenary to now being radicalized against the authoritarian government.
Recruiting other people to fight back against the Empire who happens to
Yeah.
also have them, pinned down.
Right. And I still don't think, I mean, right now he's not doing it as like a, we need to join the cause. He's doing it as a, we need to get out of here.
Right.
Still self-preservation, but you're right. Because when I saw him talking with that one guy after he came out of the refresher,
Yep.
who we hadn't seen before,
No,
and
just
it's
random
not even,
dude. Not even
and
his
it's not
table.
even on his table. Exactly. So I was like, oh, so that tells me that Cassian sought this guy out or made some connection with this guy in enough that they could trust each other to start developing this plan, whatever this plan is. And yeah, like you said, that to me, that like shows the development of his leadership and strategizing and planning and plotting and like scheming that would eventually help him like in the rebellion. And I thought it was great. And now, like, yeah, you're right. He's talking to Andy Serkis. He's getting other people involved. Yeah. And honestly, the people that are there in the conditions that they're in, now I don't think it would be very difficult to get them involved.
Right.
But still, they
especially
are positioning it as,
now that they know they're not getting out.
Yes, that was the big reveal at the end of 9.
Yeah.
Where what was it? They found there's the word level 2. What's going on level 2? Level
right.
2. They're paused in the tunnels. Power goes out, power comes back on.
Yep. They're using the rudimentary sign language to try and talk to the other levels.
Yeah. And Andy Serkis makes a good point. Goes, how many hands have seen that message before it got to you? Like, you could be wrong. He's right. and he's trying to quell any kind of anything because he's
a short timer and he wants to get out, and he's kind of leading this troop because of that.
Yeah, he's a short timer and he's got some power amongst these people, and I feel like he probably knows what he can lose if the Empire decides to take that power away from him.
Mm-hmm.
He doesn't want to go back to where he was or whatever. So I mean, and I understood his trying to quell that questioning in that moment in that episode. But then we hear from the doctor after the guy, the old guy, passes out, has a stroke apparently, and that was bleak too. Like, this guy's like, he's not gonna make it. There's nothing I can do.
He basically euthanized him.
Yeah, exactly. And so we hear from the doctor what happened on level 2. We hear from the doctor that somebody on level 4 got released, but then showed up on level 2, and word got out that he was supposed to be released.
Mm-hmm.
So they killed everybody on level 2 to keep that word from getting out. Is that correct? Did I follow that correctly?
100%.
How did they think that word wasn't going to get out? Did he think that? Did they just don't tell anybody? I know we told you we were going to get released, but we're just not going to.
I think what they had been doing was transferring them to another facility, and somehow this guy ended up back on level 2 instead of at another facility. So,
but even in another facility, wouldn't he be like, "Yo, I was supposed to get released"? Wouldn't he? That'd be the first thing out of his mouth. I feel like anywhere.
Oh yeah.
I don't know.
You would think.
It's like, you would think. Anyway, that doesn't matter. I'm overanalyzing it. So they're basically telling us that they're not going to release anybody. They're just going to recycle them, put them on other levels, put them on other facilities, whatever. So you're never getting out of here. You're never, and like, we're just going to keep you prisoner for the rest of your life.
Yeah, you're here. You're ours. That sucks.
Certainly enough. Yeah, certainly enough to make Cassian continue with his plan. Certainly enough to get Andy Serkis's character, what's his name?
Kino.
Certainly enough to get Kino on board with trying to get out of there and doing something instead of just being the Empire's, low-grade puppet and keeping other prisoners in prison. Very powerful, very excellent, and like really one of the worst things we've ever seen like shy of blowing up a planet. One of the most despicable things we've seen the Empire do, I think.
Well, and I'm pretty sure we're seeing that planet blower up or being built.
Oh, you think that's what they're working on in the prison?
I'm assuming so. Either that or just like something for the machine industrial or the military industrial complex of like Star Destroyer parts, or they're building.
Yeah. I mean, I
something
wasn't
for
really
whatever.
thinking about it just because I assumed it didn't matter because it's just, they have to show them building something. But of
Right.
course, like, it could easily be something that we are familiar with, or, AT-AT parts or.
Yeah, and I mean, it does show how they could, it gives some plausibility to how the Empire could churn out all of this crazy amount of weaponry in minimal time when you have every bit of incarcerated work just, churning out parts.
Yep.
Who needs factories?
Absolutely.
Who needs when you effectively have slave labor? What do you need? What do you need anything else for?
Yeah.
So,
another great line in episode 9. We're cheaper than droids and easier to replace.
Yeah.
Also very bleak.
100%.
But also very true to life.
And it shows the depravity of the Empire, which we haven't seen. We've seen Darth Vader, and we saw them blow up a planet.
Well, that's the thing. Like, the stuff we've seen for like I mentioned, like you and I both mentioned destroying planets so far. And that's like big budget blockbuster sci-fi movie level villainy. That's like twisting your mustache and cackling level villainy. It's villainy on a level that we can't comprehend because that doesn't exist, right? But manipulating prisoners is something that does exist and that we can relate to, which is more disturbing and awful on like a human level, and not just in like a big blockbuster sci-fi level, but on a human being to human being level. Like, oh, these guys are terrible. They don't care about human life.
Right. And that's not the only thing we see that makes us think that in this episode.
You're talking about, I'm sure that I remember what you're talking about, but I don't exactly remember what you're talking about.
Well, I think if we head to, are they, I think they're on Ferric still.
Oh, yeah.
When we head to the Deidre Miro interrogation center.
The torturing of,
Bix.
What's her name?
Yeah.
Bix, yeah.
So,
boy.
So Bix Colleen is subjected to this torture of, how did they describe it? There was a planetary genocide, and they were able to isolate the screams of the children of a certain species that apparently was like...
It's the sound the species makes as they die.
Yeah.
Specifically the children, what they believe to be children.
Right.
That are specifically terrible to listen to, I guess.
Yeah. And apparently it was pretty terrible because the reaction, whoever... I cannot remember the actor that's playing Bix, but she absolutely like made you feel how awful that was and how breaking that was.
Yeah, and I loved that we didn't hear what it sounded like.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it's like not showing us the shark in Jaws. Like, anything that we're imagining is way worse than what it actually would be.
Yeah, like I can't comprehend what it would be, but it got to be bad. Like, real bad.
Yeah. I gotta say, I love the character of Deidre. I think she is great. And I love the way they structured this show, that they made us like feel for her in the first few episodes. Like, she's the only woman at that table. She's fighting for her job. She's right about this, and no one believes her. And
you go from rooting for her to she is the epitome of she's the only competent one in that room, and also like you root for her to become the best in that room, and then you realize you're rooting for her to like destroy everything that got built up.
Be the best fascist in that room.
Right. Right. Yeah.
Because I said to my wife, I was like, at the beginning, we were like, oh, she's the only woman there. She's like really got to prove herself. And it's like, oh, okay, yeah, she's the only female fascist in a room full of fascists. She's got to prove herself to other fascists. Like, so like, that's so genius that they made us like her. And now we're watching her do these terrible, terrible things, which is totally in line with her character and her job and what she's capable of doing. just genius storytelling, I think, from the team at Andor. Boy, and she's great. She's such a good villain. Where we thought it was going to be Cyril, I thought the Cyril was going to be the one that was really kind of going after Cassian, and now I'm kind of questioning what's going to happen with his character in a way that I'm very interested in.
Oh yeah.
Because he very forwardly approached Deidre.
Very awkwardly.
And that was like so awkwardly that I was like, I feel like he would know that this is a bad move. But it didn't seem like that. And then I was like, then he grabbed her at one point, and I thought, oh, is he like taking something from her? Is he like, did he pickpocket? I was like, he doesn't seem like a pickpocket kind of guy.
Right.
Is he doing that? But
he's just being creepy and awkward.
He's just being a creep.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And I love that her reaction, like in if this was a movie, it'd be like, you're right. I like your spirit. We need to team up or something like that, just to get the plot moving or whatever. And her very real reaction of, stay away from me. If you touch me again, I'll kill you, more or less.
Yeah. Meanwhile, he's saying, I felt something. I know there's something here. And it's like, dude, just take a step back off the creep wagon. And
yeah, like you probably could have worked on that speech a little bit,
right,
to like make her a little more on your side. Like, I want to help you get Cassian Andor in any way possible. Like, don't make it weird about like,
you made my
I
life
felt
worth
alive
living
for the first time. Yeah, exactly. Like, okay,
buddy.
okay, buddy. Oh, right.
Take a step back.
Yeah. Very interested to see where he's going, because they're keeping him around. It's not like he was like a one and done character. We still are checking in with him. So like, what's going to happen with Cyril? I don't know. Is he going to work his way into the investigation and be a part of it? Or is he just going to screw something up? Or
maybe both.
Maybe both. Or a third thing that we can't think of. I don't know.
Yeah, Miro, they've done a very good job with. I mean, like you touched on, it's become one of the more compelling parts of the show.
That's Deidre's last name,
yep.
right? Deidre Miro.
Deidre Miro.
Yeah, okay.
Which is funny because going into it, I was thinking that they were, again, going back to the EU stuff, I was thinking they were going the Yasana Sard route, she was a female director of ISB at one point. And I was thinking like, oh, we get to see her start or whatever. And the fact that they're taking it a completely different route, novel character or whatever, seems, I like the pivot. I like that they're not reusing, because Isard was a bit of a one-dimensional character. They could build her out, they could flesh her out, whatever.
Yeah.
But ultimately, she ended up mustache twirling villain, and I like this harder nut to crack, if you will. Type a lot more as far as what they're doing with that development.
Yeah, I agree. Oh, and the other despicable thing we saw the Empire do in I think it was episode 9, they captured some pilot, and they're going to kill him and make it look like an accident so they can they can track the ship or something. Like they're setting up a sting operation. Do you remember that scene?
Yep, that was the scene. Or this episode.
Yeah. So I was like, oh, they're just going to kill that guy, make it look like a mechanical failure, and see what ship comes to pick him up or whatever. Like, that is dastardly.
Oh yeah,
that is dastardly.
But that's the thing that like ISB has always been that. They're not the Tarkins. They're not the I'm gonna blow up a planet and show my iron fist. They're all right, how can we make this happen so that we get what we want in the most efficient way possible? And let's go do that. And this seems to fit right in that mold, and also is just like that extra side of evil.
Yeah. So she's one step closer to cracking cracking down on Luthen, and therefore possibly Mon Mothma. Although we know Mon Mothma certainly doesn't die in this. She's not going to die in this season. She's not going to die in the next season, because we see her in Return of the Jedi, for crying out loud. So
we've got 3 people that we at least know are making it out of this.
Making out of the
show.
First and second season show.
Yep.
Yeah. Wait, 3.
Melchi.
Cassian. Oh yeah. Okay. Yeah.
So,
2
major
characters. I don't remember
characters.
him in Rogue One. I saw like a.
Yeah, he was just like one of the one of the the squad mates, and he Andor refers to him as Melchi in Rogue One as well.
Okay.
So
Cool.
very, very easy to miss. I didn't pick it up until I saw it somewhere.
Yeah.
So.
But cool little, thread of connectivity.
Right. Like, okay, that's where he got his buddy. But
I don't know if you noticed this. I did, and this was like, I don't know. What I feel like I keep reading that like this is the lowest rated Star Wars show that they've had so far. Like less people are watching it, which is insane because it's the greatest one. And I feel like I've read some things that people are mad. I do not understand fandom in any case, in any kind of fandom. Star Wars fandom also like a separate kind of crazy, but specifically, I feel like a lot of the same people or similar people that are complaining about too much fan service in Rise of Skywalker, too much fan service in Boba Fett or whatever. They're like, "Where's no Easter eggs? There's no references." It's like, well, what do you want? You can't have it both ways. But here's the kind of Easter egg you do get if you pay attention, Steve. I'm not saying you, but I noticed this and I loved it. There is a moment in Episode 9, not Rise of Skywalker, Episode 9 of Andor,
got it,
where it is when Deidre is letting the doctor torture Bix on Ferrix, and she leaves the room. It's either her or it's a different Imperial soldier. The camera is outside of the room that Bix is in.
Yeah.
She leaves. The door closes, and the camera follows the door down to the floor and then follows the feet of the soldier walking away and pans up as a soldier walks away down the hallway. It is the exact same shot in A New Hope when Leia is getting prodded by that giant floating orb with a needle. Yeah.
The most inefficient way to torture anyone in the world.
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense, and we never find out really what happened or what it did at all. But the door comes down, the camera follows it down, and follows the feet of an Imperial soldier as they're walking away down the hall. It is the exact same camera movement, and that's the kind of deep cut Easter eggs you're getting with this show. God damn it! So
yeah, you're not getting the superficial like, oh, there's Chewie. It's like
exactly. Yeah.
No, it's all like subtle nods, and this.
Or
is
there aren't any, and if there aren't any, it's fine because that makes this show stand on its own in a way that no other Star Wars show has, including Mandalorian.
Yeah.
Because I love Mandalorian too, but it is also very full of Easter eggs and references and things like that. But I know we haven't talked about Mon Mothma yet, so okay, well let's do that, and then I got a quote from Tony Gilroy that I'll read at the end of this.
Okay.
That he said this past week. The Mon Mothma stuff is great and getting more and more intense as she gets more and more stressed out about like feeling like the Empire is starting to be breathing down her neck a little bit. Her working with her old friend to get some money, that causing some problems. Her husband and her daughter seemingly like pulling away from her because she's so invested in her work. She's like introducing stuff in the Senate and no one's listening to her because they're all just like hail Emperor Palpatine, and she's trying to like kind of hold the line. It's just like real tense, but it's very good, and Genevieve O'Reilly is great. She's doing such a good job in this show portraying that. And again, this is more like a real kind of political thriller, or her storyline is in a way that we have not seen in Star Wars, and it is great.
Yeah. Before we fully leave the interrogation stuff.
Oh, okay.
Dr. Gorst.
Yeah.
Creepy as hell. Just deadpan, like talking like, oh yeah, this is what you'll hear. It's fine. We're not like, I'm like, dude, that's an extra level of creepy and sadistic and evil.
Yeah. Being like super friendly with a person that's about to just lose their mind.
Right. You're literally melting their brain, and you're just talking to them like you ran into them in the grocery store.
making off the cuff like, I mean, yeah, like that kind of like
Yep.
smiley, like, well, da jokes. I don't know what the line was, but that kind of like temperament. It's just creepy. You're right. Val is Mon Mothma's cousin. That was a crazy reveal.
Didn't
I
expect
didn't
that one.
expect that. Didn't expect it at all.
No,
And at first I was like, oh, this is a cover. They're not really cousins. She just like needs to talk to her or something. But I was like, oh, nope. The daughter's calling her Aunt Val.
Yeah.
That's legit. They're actually cousins. That's crazy. I feel like I keep forgetting about that character because we've been away from her arc and she's just popped up once or twice in the last like 3 episodes or so for like short scenes.
Yeah.
And she's been assigned to try to kill Cassian.
Right, which, doesn't come up at all.
Yeah, I mean, I'm assuming we're going to get there in the last 3 episodes here. But wow. Right. I don't know. That was cool. And another cool, tense conversation between the two of them. Yeah, I don't know. This show is so good. It's just so good. If you're not watching it, what are you doing? You're crazy. Watch
if you got to this point in the podcast and aren't watching it, then
hey,
you're really
listening
crazy.
to us talk about it. You're listening to us say how great it is.
Half an hour of how great the show is, and you're still not watching it.
Yeah. All right. Well, we can wrap up here by me saying that Tony Gilroy gave an interview this week talking about some directors that are going to be helming season 2 of Andor and some writers that are going to be on season 2. They're going to be all new directors. None of the directors of this season are returning, which is, I mean, I guess it's not super strange because directors got to take jobs wherever they get them. And some of the writing is switching up. And he mentioned this one guy named Tom Bissell, who's written some Apple TV Plus projects, but he dropped a nugget of information. You know, Steve, you and I were talking about how there's not a ton of Easter eggs in this show. That may not necessarily be the case as we move into season 2. As we know, season 1 takes place over a year. Season 2 is going to take place over the following 5 years, leading up into Rogue One. So,
well, and that actually might make more sense as he's getting more involved with the rebellion and some of the faces we know.
Yeah, exactly. As you will see by this quote, he said in talking about this writer, Tom Bissell says, Tom Bissell is a really cool and really, really interesting, versatile, really good writer, but also a very, very, very big Star Wars fan, which we really wanted to make sure we had another pro because we're going into Rogue One and we're going to Yavin. And then we're going into places where we eventually need to really weave our way back to the source. So Tom came in and he's been great. So he's got some episodes too. So confirming that we will be seeing maybe the opening of the Yavin 4 Rebel base, or at least we'll be spending some time on the Rebel base on Yavin, which makes perfect sense because that's where they are in Rogue One. That's where they are in A New Hope. So, yeah, of course not. Of course,
it is one of the only planets we've seen both Mon Mothma and Cassian Andor.
Yeah, yes.
So,
and then also he mentions Yavin outright, and then says we're going into places where eventually need to really weave our way back to the source. So I feel like we're going to start seeing, is it possible that we'll get a scene on the Death Star in season 2 of Andor? Is it possible that we'll get another Darth Vader thing in season 2? Who knows?
Right.
Crazy. I feel like it's definitely going to be more, not that, I mean, this show is crazy Star Wars-y. I'm not saying it's not, but season 2 might feel more like Star Wars that we're used to. Like we might get a Jedi or a mention of a Jedi at least in season 2. So who knows? So yeah, episodes 8 and 9, great. Can't wait for this Wednesday. Can't wait.
Oh, absolutely.
Very excited about it.
What do you say after half an hour of Andor talk, we cut this up and head to our weekly roundup of all things nerd?
Sounds great. Yeah, let's do that. But if you're listening to this, you can follow us on social medias at the Multiverse Report, or you can find us around there, multiversereport@gmail.com. If you want to send us an email, multiversereport.com. If you want to check out our site and all that kind of stuff. Did I miss anything?
No, you hit most of it.
Stuff.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think you hit the high points.
All right. Cool. Well, We're going to do our weekly wrap up in a second. But until then, thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. And we'll see you next time in the multiverse.